Okay, so this is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and being a tech YouTube channel, it's kind of normal for me to upgrade every single year. Whether I return it or keep it, that's kind of my own choice. This year, I decided to upgrade from 13 Pro Max to the 14 Pro Max and keep it. But after using this for more than 2 weeks at the time of this recording, I think that many consumers should skip the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I'm going to explain why. So without further delay, let's dive right in. All right, so the reason number one is going to be that it has the same design. It's an iterative update. Let me put it that way. Many of the people around me, my friends and family and the community around me, they use an iPhone 13 or even an iPhone 12. Less people use the iPhone 11 and older, but for the majority, iPhone 12 and newer. And especially if you have an iPhone 13 Pro, I don't think there's any need of upgrading unless you're really nitpicky on the camera updates. You want that 48 megapixel, you want to shoot in RAW and all that stuff. Then yeah, I mean, it's probably going to justify the upgrade. But other than that, I mean, Dynamic Island was really hyped a lot. I do like it. Obviously, you can't really see because of my dark wallpaper, which is my latest wallpaper pack, Illusions. If you want to check it out, I'll be leaving a link in the description down below. But dynamic wallpaper was kind of hyped a lot during the presentation. I absolutely loved it. But in real case, in real world use, it's been the same for me. Like having a notch or having Dynamic Island has not really interfered with or changed the way I use the iPhone. So for me, Dynamic Island wasn't a huge update. Other than that, looking at the phone itself, design-wise, it's the same. The one downside, if you upgrade from the 12 or 13, is going to be the SIM card slot. If you're in the US, if you're not in the US, then you still have the SIM card tray. But US consumers who are going to buy it, like myself, you don't have the SIM card slot. So that's also a downside. I personally think that's a downside because I like to travel overseas and I just like to quickly swap out my old SIM card and swap in the new one. Granted, more and more countries are trying to implement into eSIM. I get that, but many countries right now still don't support eSIM. So I kind of wish that SIM card slot or SIM card tray was there. So that's a downside for me. Everything else is pretty much the same. It still has the same 120 hertz display as the 13 Pro Max. And even if you have the 12 Pro Max, for example, and that has 60 hertz, it's still not like a huge upgrade. You're not, missing out on a lot of extra features. Every year, the upgrades from each iPhone has become, less and less significant. This is an iterative update. It's not a wow me iPhone that's it's not complete redesign. It's just an iterative update. I mean, the 14 Pros have the new chipset. They have the new cameras. They have the new Dynamic Island, but they're not, reasons to upgrade. So if you have the 13 Pro and even the 12 Pro, and I'm specifically focusing on the Pros because I am talking about the 14 Pro Max here, I don't think you should be upgrading. One is because of the iterative design. The second one is going to be the battery. And this one's specifically targeted towards the 13 Pro Max because I've used it for a year. 12 Pro Max, it's a 2-year-old device. So maybe you might get, better battery life with the 14 Pro Max. But as you can tell, I turned off always on display because it was just sipping through my battery life. I turned it off. And granted, this still it has great battery life. Don't get me wrong, but after using the 13 Pro Max for an entire year, which I didn't need to charge, I would go my second day without charging the 13 Pro Max. This, by the end of the day, I have to charge it. If I go into the second day, it'll just die out on me. So I have to charge. It has great battery life. Like I said, don't get me wrong, but it's just not on par with the 13 Pro Max. And like I said, I turned off always on display. So there's that. If you have the 13 Pro Max and you want to upgrade, you're going to see a drop in battery life. With my 13 Pro Max, 1 year later, I still had 100% battery life. I took really good care of that device, and I absolutely loved it. I love the Sierra Blue color, by the way, too. This year, Apple released a deep blue to replace the Sierra Blue from last year. Anyway, like battery life, for me, it's been a downside. Others have reported they've seen increase. Others have reported they've seen the same battery life, but for me, it's been a slight downgrade. With the 13 Pro Max, I had certain expectations, and these just didn't hit the expectation. It was good, but just didn't meet those expectations of performing really well. So there's that. Battery life for me is a second reason why I would share and tell you guys to kind of skip the 14 Pro Max. And the third reason is going to be that the 13 Pro right now that this is on the market is going to be a little bit cheaper. Now, you're going to say, hey, well, I can't buy the 13 Pro or the Pro Max on Apple's website. Yes, you were right. You got me there. But you can maybe find it in stock at your local carriers until they run out of stock. You can find it on other websites. You can find it used, and it'll be much cheaper. Make sure you take a look. I was gonna say check a look. Make sure you take a look at the battery health. If it's more than after 1 year of using a 13 Pro or Pro Max, if it's more than 95%, just my personal recommendation, I would say, hey, it's a good buy. Anything lower than that, I mean, the battery health is really important. So remember, before you're buying a used product, always take a look, especially if it's an iPhone, always take a look at the battery health. But overall, like its previous models are going to be cheaper. And if you want to save some extra money, and you don't want the Pros, you don't need the Pros, go for the iPhone 13s, not even the 14s. The 14s are like an iPhone 13s. Go for the iPhone 13s. Apple is still selling them, both the 13 mini, which I actually still want to pick up and use as one of my main cameras, whether it be the Aero. Actually, this is going to be the 14 Pro Max. This right here right now is a 12 mini because I have to record this. But maybe this one right here, 13 mini, who knows? I want to pick one up to use for the channel. But they do sell the 13 mini and iPhone 13, still have stellar battery life. If you don't need the extra Pro features, then go for the 13. If not, you need those Pro features, you need 120 hertz, and you need a little bit more of a better battery life for 13 Pro Max, go ahead and pick it up used. But like I said, overall, like bringing all my thoughts together, my final opinion, it's just it's an iterative design. It's an iterative update. It's got really cool updates, but honestly, for most consumers, and also, diving into my past experience working in the mobile department at Best Buy, many consumers don't even use all of these features that a lot of OEMs, a lot of phone companies do bring to their smartphones. With action mode, for example, on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, or with Pro RAW, or with 4K cinematic mode, a lot of consumers, they're not even going to know. They are not even going to know. When I was working at Best Buy, it was during the release of the 11 Pro, and I would have to kind of show the customers how it had 3 cameras and how each camera worked differently. One was a wide, one was ultra wide, one was a telephoto. And many of the responses were, this is cool and all, but I just need an iPhone that's, works and has pretty good battery life. I'm not going to use it. So that's just some experience that I have working in the mobile department. So I think you should probably skip. Maybe the iPhone 15 will have a huge redesign. Maybe it might come, have no notch, or dynamic island. But at this point, I think Apple is embracing the dynamic island because it's working with software, and Apple did a good job with that. Maybe it might come with USB-C, which a lot of people are actually looking forward to. More and more products, even the MacBook, the iPad Air, they're all, and the iPad Pro and the iPad Mini, they all support USB-C. So we just have smaller products like the AirPods Pros, the AirPods Max, and the iPhone that have yet to support USB-C. More and more products. What I mean is more and more products we're using and carrying with us support USB-C. So it'll just be great to carry one universal cable. Maybe we might get that with the iPhone 15 and maybe a redesign. So there is that. Those are my thoughts on why you should probably skip out and wait maybe for the iPhone 15. So that's really been it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to smash the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel a lot. It will help push my content out to more people. That's been it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.